Hi everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel Dr.Sreenivas Medical Concepts and my FB page Dr. Sreenivas Concepts. This is Dr. Sreenivas, neurologist from Andhra Pradesh, India. I am also the medical author of the book Focused Neurology. Today we are going to talk about a very interesting and exciting topic, bold and beautiful. The differences between man's brain and women's brain. The man's brain versus women's brain. One of the most exciting topics. The bold and beautiful, because men are aggressive, because they have an enlarged amygdala as compared to women, so they are aggressive and bold. Whereas women, the cingulate gyrus, it has got a lot of gray matter as compared to men, and there's an increased blood flow to the cingulate gyrus in women's brain as compared to men's brain. So they are kind, compassionate and beautiful. So bold and beautiful, the man's brain versus women's brain. So now let's see what are all the differences between man's brain and a women's brain. Man's brain is larger than a woman's brain, but if we compare the size of the brain to the size of the body proportion wise, they're almost same. So it's just an observation, there's not much significance to it. But what is most significant and very interesting, the spectacular concept of today's discussion is the multitasking of a woman and a unitasking or a single task which can be done by a man. A woman can do multiple tasks at the same time. She is a homemaker. Her husband calls her for breakfast and asks the eatable items to be ready. The children say they want to go to school and ask their mother whether the uniform is ready. Suddenly a phone call comes. Suddenly someone calls her up, servant comes and asks what dishes have to be made for the lunch. So many people come and talk to her. Multitasking is involved, but despite all this interaction, she remains calm, cool and can do justice to all the interactions which has been happening with all the different people. This is called as multitasking. This can be done by women efficiently as compared to a man. Man can only focus a single task at a time. He cannot perform more than one task. If he is doing office work, he can only do office work. He is speaking on phone to someone else, he can only do that. A woman can drive the car, talk to her friend, and then ask her kids who are by the side what they want. She can do all the tasks at the same time. Multitasking is the key factor which differentiates a woman's thinking from a man's thinking, a woman's brain from a man's brain. Multitasking can be done by women. Only a single task at a particular point of time can be done by a man. So this is a real big advantage a woman has over a man. But how is this possible? How can we explain it scientifically? Very fascinating if you see the connections of the brain. When we take a woman's brain, the both sides are more interconnected than a man's brain. The both sides of the brain, the zigzag connections are more between both the sides of the brain. So all parts of the brain are interconnected in a woman. It is because the corpus callosum, the connecting tract, is bigger in women's brain as compared to man's brain. The white tracts are more, the white matter is more in a woman's brain as compared to the man's brain, and the women's brain is almost bilaterally symmetrical. So it is a zigzag connection. Both sides of the brain are connected and almost all the parts of the brain are interconnected. Because of this, a woman can perform many tasks at the same time. On the contrary, if we take a man's brain, when there are two sides of the brain, it is connected only from the front to the back. The corpus callosum, which connects the two sides of the brain, is smaller in size in a man as compared to a woman. And man has got more of grey matter than the white matter. And therefore, if we see, they are wired from front to back in a man. They are wired from front to back only on one side. And they use more of the grey matter. So they can do only one task at a time. Whereas the women can do multiple tasks at the same time. They are both sides of the brain are more interconnected. Whereas here, man's brain, only one side of the brain, the connections runs from the front to back. There are less interconnections between the two sides of the brain. A very, very important point. Probably nature wants a women to do multiple tasks at the same time because women are more homemakers. And she has to do multiple tasks at the same time. And because of that, probably Mother Nature has given her this major advantage over man. And this also helps in a person's communication skills. The left side of the brain for most of the right-handers is concerned with speech. But the right side of the brain is concerned with the emotional aspect of the speech. So when a woman speaks, she's got good communication skills. Her speech, her memory is good because hippocampus is good. Her speech, her word output is good, and it is connected with the emotional component of the speech on the right side of the brain, what we call as intonation, the melody. And therefore they got lovely communication skills as compared to men. And therefore most of the anchors, most of them are women because they are better in communication. They have good word output and they can give an emotional tone to their speech. The communication skills are better in a woman as compared to men, and therefore they are good anchors. So they do excellent anchoring work as compared to men. If you say men are actually ferocious, violent. Why? Because of amygdala. The size of the amygdala is more in man as compared to women. So they are more ferocious. They are violent. They settle the scores by hitting the other persons because of increased size of amygdala. In fact, if you remove amygdala, like the Kluwer and Juicy, they've done wonderful experiments. They show that they become more friendly. So the less the size of the amygdala or the absence of amygdala makes them more friendly, but more the size of the amygdala makes them more aggressive. Men's amygdala size is more as compared to women, so they are violent, aggressive. If we talk about it in a positive note, they are bold. Memory, like amygdala has got a bigger size in man, the hippocampus has got a better size in women. So hippocampus is concerned with memory, and therefore they remember facts better than man. They have a good memory, they got a good recall. In fact, identification of faces is better done by women than man. They can identify faces and remember it for a long time. Men tend to forget the faces of the friends whom they have seen many years ago, but women tend to still recognize the faces, remember the faces which they've seen long time back. And of course, women remember all the birthdays, marriage anniversaries, etc. And if men forget it, that's the end of the story. Cingulate gyrus and emotions. Women are very caring, emotional, kind because of the cingulate gyrus. Cingulate gyrus is responsible for emotion. There's more grey matter in the cingulate gyrus in women. There is more blood supply to the cingulate gyrus in women. That's why they are so kind, compassionate, empathetic, and they are so kind and beautiful. Hormones and straightforwardness. There's a saying that it's very difficult to read a woman's mind. One can never understand a woman's mind. That's partly true. Why? Women has got lot of hormonal changes going in her on a day-to-day basis. She's got the repetitive periods coming up and every month. There are changes in estrogen and progesterone which keeps on fluctuating on a day-to-day basis. Because of these emotional changes, because of these hormonal changes and the interconnectivity, the brain is connected to all parts, zigzag connection. So women tends to be more confused, more difficult to understand. Whereas man, there are no hormonal changes. There's no such entity called as menstruation in man. A testosterone spikes in adolescence, that's it, and slowly it ends off. There's no day-to-day hormonal changes in man. And there are no zigzag interconnections. The connections are straightforward, running from the front to the back on one side. So man is straightforward, not confused, not emotionally labile. Women tend to be more emotionally labile, more confused because of our hormonal changes and because of the interconnectivity between the two sides, corpus callosum, the zigzag connection. The spatial orientation. The spatial orientation is better in men as compared to women, especially in movements of the rotational direction. The spatial orientation. Perhaps it could be an evolutionary process. Men were more of hunters. Women were staying in the caves and preparing food. Men used to go out and get the food by killing the animals. So he needs to have a good spatial orientation. He needs to see an animal from a distance and should have a three-dimensional view. And therefore, Mother Nature has given a better spatial orientation to men as compared to women. Recall of words. Women recall words faster. In fact, their vocabulary is huge as compared to men. They are full of words. Whereas men do not have that great vocabulary as compared to women. They are always short of words. And therefore don't dare to pick up an argument with a woman. Because she's full of vocabulary, she's full of words. She can easily win the argument. Verbal communication. Women has got lot of memory. Hippocampus is bigger in size. There is good interconnection between the two sides of the brain. As I said, the emotional component of the speech is on the non-dominant side and the speech is on the dominant side. They are interconnected. So when the vocabulary is strong and when she is able to speak and giving an emotional tone to it, her speech is really attractive. It is very impressive. So the communication skills are better in women as compared to men, and therefore we see anchors most of the time as women rather than men. Men are more mechanical. They don't have much emotions as compared to women. Women are more emotional. They are more empathetic, sympathetic, caring, compassionate, because the gray matter in the cingulate gyrus is more and the blood flow to the cingulate gyrus is more. Since women are more emotional, the negative part of it is that they are prone to post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression and schizophrenia. Whereas men do not have a lot of emotions. They don't give emotional attachment to an object or to a person. They are more mechanistic. Since they don't give much of emotions to the other persons, they don't really care about the other persons, they are more likely to develop autism. So autism is more commonly seen in men because they are mechanical, they are not emotional. Whereas post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, paranoid schizophrenia are more seen in women because they are highly emotional. Yeah, these are the differences, but what are the 5 fundamental differences? The most important difference between a man's brain and a woman's brain is task. A woman can do multiple tasks at the same time, but a poor man can do only one task at a particular point of time. Because the wiring, if we see, it is from front to back only on one side, whereas in women it is in zigzag. Both the sides of the brain are connected because of a bigger corpus callosum, because of bigger white fibers, lot of white fibers, and both sides of the brain appear to be symmetrical. So multitasking is the domain of a woman, whereas a unitask or single task only can be done by a man. The memory is more in women, whereas the memory or the vocabulary of words is less in men. But the spatial orientation is better in men as compared to the women. The amygdala is more developed in men, so they are more aggressive, violent, and they are bold. Whereas in women, the cingulate gyrus is more developed, the gray area is more, there's more blood supply, and therefore they are emotional, compassionate, empathetic, and sympathetic. So women are more emotional, more kind as compared to men. Even if we take the gestation, till the first 8 weeks, the child is a woman in making. Till the first 8 weeks in the womb, the fetus is actually a woman in making. Only after 8 weeks, if a Y chromosome may make the child into a male child in making. So the children are basically destined to be born as women. Men are actually born by default. So women are destined to be born, men are born by default. So women are compassionate, they can do multiple tasks at the same time, they are homemakers, and they are very kind. So we shall give respect to women and ladies first. I hope you have enjoyed this lecture. If you have any comments or suggestions, kindly post on to my YouTube channel. But please like and subscribe my YouTube channel, Dr. Sreenivas Medical Concepts, and my FB page, Dr. Sreenivas Concepts. Thank you. Bye.